Tobacco. It used to be a cornerstone of American life. It was how we knew sex was over before the female orgasm was invented. Even if you didn't smoke, you could not escape those who did. Cigarettes were in the hands of trusted newsmen, beloved cartoon characters, and cowboys in TV commercials.
You've had your supper and coffee. The horses are settling down. You settle back. You start to think about Saturday night in town. Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
That, of course, is the iconic Marlboro Man, as synonymous with ruggedness and freedom as he was with dying from smoking-related diseases. Because, and this is true, that's what happened to at least 4 of the actors who played him. 4 dead actors. It's like if there was a gas leak on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Why did you have to yes-and each other? Why? Look, you can admit it, it is weird seeing those cigarette ads now, and that's because for the past half-century, America has steadily limited how tobacco companies are able to behave. We've put warning labels on packaging and banned cigarette ads from TV, all while tobacco executives defended themselves against hard public health questions.
It's true. The babies born from women who smoke are smaller, but they're just as healthy as the babies born from women who do not smoke.
What about the higher rate?
And some women would prefer having smaller babies.
Yeah? Oh, you heard it, pregnant ladies. Enough cigarettes, and you're pretty much just shooting out Lego babies. They fit in Star Wars toys. Who wouldn't want that? That's adorable. By the late 90s, the regulations were such that tobacco companies here voluntarily retired not just the Marlboro Man, but also Joe Camel, who people had ridiculously accused of being targeted at children just because he was an adorable cartoon camel who dressed like the Fonz and smoked. All these restrictions helped lower smoking rates in the US from about 43% in 1965 to 18% today, which you would assume would decimate the American tobacco industry, which is what makes this clip from 2008 so surprising.
Tobacco is what you might call smoking hot.
Is this the best time ever to be a tobacco farmer?
Probably the most profitable.
Wow. So it's an aging product that's decreasing in popularity, and yet somehow it just can't stop making money. It's basically the agricultural equivalent of U2. Now, one of the reasons for this might be that while Americans are smoking less, in some parts of the world, people are smoking more, to an occasionally shocking extent. You might remember this viral video.
A video of this 2-year-old boy. He's just puffing away on a cigarette in Indonesia, and it's gone completely viral. The mom says he is totally addicted, and if he doesn't get the smokes, he gets angry, starts banging his head on the wall.
Yeah, of course he gets mad when you take away his smokes. He thinks they're gone. He doesn't have object permanence yet. The smoking baby was such a media sensation, news crews from across the world attempted to find him.
Just across this bridge lies the small fishing village that is home to the smoking baby.
We briefly caught up with Aldi and his mother Diana at the airport, flanked by a local TV crew.
Are you Aldi? Hi, I'm Dan. How you doing, little dude?
Holy shit, just look at that kid! He's his own rat pack. All he's missing is 3 other kids dressed like him and a casino. And this is where this story gets really interesting. Because that baby's favourite brand of cigarettes was A Mild, which is owned by Philip Morris International, the company that sells Philip Morris brands everywhere but America. They, like other multinational companies, have flocked to Indonesia, a market where 2/3 of adult males smoke, and there are very few restrictions, and I do mean very few.
This really brings home the point. This is the entrance to a school, and come with me. Just a few steps away from the entrance, there is this kiosk that is sponsored by Marlboro Lights. And at this kiosk, a student can come and buy an individual cigarette. They're only a dime a piece, and they even have a lighter on a string.
Yeah, well, of course the lighter's on a string. What kind of irresponsible cigarette vendor outside a school would let a child walk away with a lighter? They're dangerous. Think about it. Just think about that. And look, Indonesia is far from the only country where Philip Morris International, or PMI, has expanded. They own 7 of the world's top 15 international brands, including Marlboro. And recently, Marlboro has boosted its global market share thanks to its worldwide Don't Be a Maybe, Be Marlboro campaign. And if you're thinking, what the f*** does Don't Be a Maybe mean? please let this video by the people responsible for the campaign explain it to you.
As a brand, Marlboro was not resonating with adult smokers, even though its values of freedom, authenticity, and master of destiny were. Smokers missed the essence of the cowboy, which led us to our opportunity. Eliminate the word maybe from our smokers' vocabulary to become the catalyst that inspires smokers from just thinking about life to taking the lead in their life. To live the Marlboro values. To be true, bold, and forever forward.
That is a pile of horse shit. Even... Think about it. Just think about this. Even Don Draper looks at that ad and goes, pull it back a little bit. These are cigarettes we're talking about, not Jesus. Now, countries can try to counteract the influence of that kind of marketing, but if tobacco companies feel too threatened, they'll put them through legal hell. Let me take you on a world tour of how they attack laws intended to protect public health, because it's kind of amazing. Let's start in Australia. In 2011, they passed a plain packaging law, and what that means is this.
Cigarettes come in packaging like this, pretty drab colouring, messaging the Australian government writes, pictures it chooses, the brand name there really relegated to the bottom.
Australia's plain packaging law banned tobacco company branding from packaging and replaced it with upsetting photos, such as the toe tag on a corpse, the cancerous mouth, the nightmarish eyeball, or the diseased lung. Now, yes, I'm pretty sure I would find a healthy lung disgusting, but that thing does look like you're trying to breathe through baked ziti, so just take that down. Just take it down. Perhaps unsurprisingly, since this law was implemented, total consumption of tobacco and cigarettes in Australia fell to record lows, and nightmares about eyeballs have risen to record highs. Take it down! Take down the demon eye! To get these laws, though, Australia's had to run a gamut of lawsuits. First, 2 tobacco companies sued Australia in its highest court to stop them. The result was a little surprising, as Australia's Attorney General let everyone know.
I'm delighted to be able to say that we have won that legal action, and just as some icing on the cake, it seems that the big tobacco companies will also be required to pay the government's costs.
Yes! Score one! Score one for the little guy. Even if that little guy is the 6th largest country in the world in terms of landmass. And the tobacco companies didn't just lose. The judges called their case delusive, unreal and synthetic, and said it had fatal defects, which sounds a little like the early reviews of NBC's The Slap. What is this thing? How long am I supposed to watch it for? Which one is The Slap? But Australia's legal troubles were just beginning, because then Philip Morris Asia got involved.
The company is threatening to take the Australian government to an international court and says that removing brands from cigarette packs will lower the value of its trademark and intellectual property.
That's right, a company was able to sue a country over a public health measure through an international court. How the f*** is that possible? Well, it's really a simple explanation. They did it by digging up a 1993 trade agreement between Australia and Hong Kong, which had a provision that Australia couldn't seize Hong Kong-based companies' property. So, 9 months before the lawsuit started, PMI put its Australian business in the hands of its Hong Kong-based Philip Morris Asia division, and then they sued, claiming that the seized property in question were the trademarks on their cigarette packages. And you've got to give it to them, that's impressive. Someone should really give those lawyers a pat on the back and a punch in the face, but a pat on the back first. Pat, then punch. Pat, punch. They need a pat, punch. Little pat, big punch. That's what they need. But wait, there is more here, because you will never guess who else is coming after Australia.
3 governments, Honduras, the Dominican Republic and Ukraine, have filed complaints with the World Trade Organization against Australia's plain packaging laws.
That's right. Ukraine is charging Australia with hurting its tobacco exports, something which was a bit of a surprise to a Ukrainian member of parliament.
When I first read about the position of the government, it seems to be a joke, because we have a zero trade exchange between Australia and Ukraine of any tobacco goods.
Zero trade! Zero! So Ukraine is inserting themselves into something they have nothing to do with. They're taking the Kanye West approach to international trade disputes. Just wiggling in there. The truth is, as you have probably guessed by now, tobacco companies have encouraged these suits, even covering some of the legal costs, meaning the tobacco industry is treating Ukraine like a stage parent treats a child in a beauty pageant. Oh, no, Brandy wants to do it. Oh, yes, I paid for her outfit and I pushed her onto the stage, but this was all her idea. And I swear to God, Brandy, if you drop that flaming baton, you are fucking walking home. You walk home, Brandy. And tobacco companies aren't just going after big countries like Australia.
Philip Morris has also launched a legal challenge against the small South American country of Uruguay for damaging its business prospects. Uruguay has a population of just 3.5 million people and is a relatively tiny cigarette market.
That's right. Philip Morris International is currently suing Uruguay, a country that you think about so little that you didn't even notice that that's not Uruguay, this is Uruguay. Now, the background here. 9 years ago, Uruguay started introducing increasingly larger health warnings. Smoking rates dropped, and Uruguayans liked the laws, with 68% of smokers saying that they should be stronger. But just because they wanted it hasn't stopped PMI from suing them for the past 5 years. And that's a lot for a small country to take on. Luckily, they have had help.
Uruguay has received the support of the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organization, as well as the mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg, who donated $500,000 for payment of attorney's fees.
The legal fees were getting so expensive, they had to take money from Michael Bloomberg. On the scale of how shitty that has got to feel, it's just barely higher than borrowing money from your ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend's stepdad. And if forcing Uruguay to do that was not bad enough, let me tell you what Philip Morris International has done to Togo. Togo is one of the 10 poorest countries on Earth, and they recently unveiled some new tobacco laws.
Togo is setting conditions on the sale of tobacco. Starting on September 1st, 2014, packs of cigarettes sold in Togo must bear warnings in French, EV and Cabier about the health risk associated with the consumption of tobacco.
Now, at first, written warnings sound great until you learn that 40% of the adult population of Togo is illiterate, which is why some members of the Togolese government wanted something more like Australia's Ziti lung packaging. Take it down, take it down, it's still disgusting. But when they got wind of this, Philip Morris International, a company with annual net revenues of $80 billion, basically threatened to sue Togo, whose entire GDP is $4.3 billion. And when your GDP is only a couple of billion more than the box office of Avatar, a protracted legal case is not really what you need. Now, we actually reached out to Togo and asked to see their correspondence with the tobacco companies, and they gave us this letter from PMI. We had to translate it from French, but it was worth it because this thing is almost comically appalling. It informs Togo that plain packaging laws would result in an incalculable amount of international trade litigation, suggesting Togo would lose any legal challenge by citing, among other things, an Australian High Court decision which they write concluded that plain packaging constitutes a substantial privation of property rights. Now, the court case they're referring to is the one from earlier. You remember, the one tobacco companies lost so badly they had to cover the court costs. And yet, they quote the one judge in that case who ruled in favour of tobacco, ignoring the other 6 who called their case, if you remember, delusive, unreal and synthetic, and saying it had fatal defects. That's like when a shitty movie engineers a good review out of a bad one, like Mordecai is a pile of ... great. This letter is bullshit. And yet, Togo, justifiably terrified by threats of billion-dollar settlements, backed down from a public health law that many people wanted. And it's not just Togo. British American Tobacco sent a similar letter to Namibia, and one of their subsidiaries sent one to the Solomon Islands, a country with a population of 600,000. At this point, it's safe to say, if you live in an apartment with at least 2 other people, and you ask one of them to please smoke outside, you can look forward to a letter from a tobacco company very soon. And look, I could get angry and I could call tobacco companies arseholes or monsters or open sores on Satan's dick. But instead, let's rise above it and let's try and broker peace. Because it's clear what each side wants. Countries want to warn their citizens about the health dangers of smoking tobacco. Tobacco companies want to be able to present branded images that they have spent time and money to cultivate. So may I suggest a compromise? I present to you the new face of Marlboro, Jeff the diseased lung in a cowboy hat. We are offering Jeff to you, Philip Morris International, to use as you wish. Put him on your billboards, put him on some ads. In fact, and don't be mad, we've already started doing that for you. This is an actual billboard that we have put up in Uruguay of Jeff the diseased lung. That is in Montevideo right now. And people seem to like it there, because of course they like it. Of course they like it. Everyone loves Jeff the diseased lung in a cowboy hat. Oh, one more thing. To be completely honest, we didn't just do it in Uruguay, because we also, and don't be mad, we made some Jeff-branded T-shirts and we shipped them to Togo yesterday, where they've been quite a hit. And if you don't believe me, check this out. Marlboro, Jeff's already out there. You just need to claim him. Our lawyers, unlike yours, will not sue. And I know our viewers would love to help you get the message out there. In fact, you can tweet about Jeff using the hashtag #JeffWeCan to get him trending worldwide and get PMI's attention. Post Jeff's photo on Google Plus and tag him Marlboro, which might push him to the top of Marlboro's Google image search. We can do this, everyone. Don't be a maybe about this. In fact, who here would like to meet Jeff? Let's bring Jeff out. Come on, Jeff. It's Jeff. It's Jeff, everyone. It's Jeff the diseased lung. Look at him, Marlboro. He's not a maybe. He's not a maybe because he's definitely suffering from emphysema, aren't you, Jeff? Classic Jeff. And guess what, PMI? Even though, and I cannot stress this enough, you do not market to children, kids love Jeff too, don't you, kids? What do you say, Marlboro?